Hello and welcome back to From the Be-All End. And the season's over, but your podcast is still here, and a full crew here to discuss the season in our award show as From the Be-All End goes through the top performers and the top moments of a memorable season for the Clarets, finishing joint top of the championship. We're joined by Woody in Cleveland, Andrew Greaves, Justin Connolly and Chris Bowden. Did everyone enjoy the parade? Greavesy, what did you make of it all?
I loved it. I thought I was one of them. I was a bit kind of on our group. We were a bit like, oh, parade for second. And I just loved the way it degenerated very quickly. Scott Reed, who is the absolute, master of ceremonies, got a couple of nice interviews in, and then it all just went to hell in a handcart, even down to the at one point the stream going and then coming back up with the tech guy just looking a little bit, I have to say, like those images of Leslie Grantham from the early 1990s. Looking down the camera. It's just missing the finger in the mouth kind of thing, but I loved it. Connor Roberts leading the singing of Staying Down Forever. Hannibal coming out several times asking for his song again. Esteve Scott Parker getting quite emotional again. He's quite an emotional guy, isn't he?
He is, isn't he?
Yeah. And he looked $1 million in that mitre shirt, didn't he? I mean, what a classy guy he is. But yeah, I loved it. A bit like Natasha Bedingfield. I thought it was going to be shite, but actually loved it. Fantastic.
Yeah. Thought we might have got Natasha on top of Town Hall balcony, though.
Well, that's why I didn't watch it live. I had to, for fear of that song appearing again. Can anybody get that out of their head now?
Oh,
it's outrageous, isn't it? Great. I tell you what, there was a really good turnout, though, wasn't there?
Yeah,
we thought it might be a
was.
bit, but mega turnout again. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, it did. It looked fantastic. You've been on a few of them, haven't you, Chris? You've been inside the Town Hall, haven't you?
I've been on a bus a couple of times, which is absolute thrill of a lifetime. I tell you, really. I mean, you usually end up. I mean, the players were on one bus, and I think we ended up with like assorted media and wives and directors and that sort of thing. But I think 2009, I ended up. There's a picture of me and Daz actually riding back to the turf, just in conversation with Steve Caldwell. And it's just a picture, just one else you treasure. It's just so what a real special memory that was, and just being able to see the parade from that perspective. We're double-decker bus looking down on all, a lot of familiar faces, but just seeing the joy and pride it brings to people, and the little children that it's inspiring and things like that. They are special, and you see a lot of these killjoys mocking it. Oh, what are you doing a parade for? You've not won the league, and that. Like, go to hell. Just go to. I mean, I was upset that there weren't 300,000 people in Burnley because apparently that's tin pot. So it's just come on. The entire town came out to and it's something that. So you look back at that old footage of 1960. And it's special, just to see. I mean, you look at the reception that they got then for being champions of England and what they get now for being promoted. And it's fabulous, really is. And it's those pictures. I think there's a picture of Ian Wright and Mitchell Thomas and Glenn Little and what have you in 2000, just buzzing, outside the town hall and things like those pictures. They're embedded in your mind. They're fantastic images.
Woody, what's going to be our next parade? That's the question, though. We've got quite used to having parades every other year now, but what's the next one going to be?
It'd be nice for it to go up a level, wouldn't it? Not that I'm saying we'll win a championship or win anything for that matter. It'd be nice to not have to do this every couple of seasons. It'd be nice to get out of that yo-yo thing, won't it? Probably be an Easter parade, won't it?
You can't do a staying up parade, can you?
No, well, you probably could. We probably
FA
could.
Cup winners next year.
Yeah.
FA Cup winners.
Yeah.
We were close this year. He takes it seriously, doesn't he, Parker? We could, Palace have got there and Forest were in the semi-finals. It's not beyond the realms of possibility if you manage to avoid
After things have happened.
If Wigan can win it.
Exactly.
There you go. Yeah. And there's the other one as well. I mean, Newcastle had a fairly big party for winning the other one, didn't they?
Yeah. Carabao, whatever it's called these days.
Yeah. Right. Let's get into our awards then. And we're going to start off with one which is you don't find on the Supporters Club's list, but given the amount of time we all spend talking about transfers and business and ins and outs, it dominates all the summer and 2 windows as well. Why not we just start off with signing of the year? It's an interesting one because there were quite a lot of ins and outs this year again, weren't there? But Greavesy, where would you start off with? Start us off with signing of the year.
Jadon Anthony for me. I think from that initial impact against Rovers where he put that ball in for Foster, I think it was, right through to the way he improved, the joy of watching his first touch, perhaps went under the radar a little bit at times, overshadowed by a certain January arrival. But I actually think, he's a player who scored goals, probably should have helped himself to a hell of a lot more goals. But for me, yeah, just all round, when he came, he almost looked like he looked a bit nervous. He looked like he'd not enjoyed his football for a while. But then just kind of, ending it Tuesday night with a picture of just walking around with my Copperbergs Instagram post. You just kind of go, you know what? He's another one of those who's bought into what Burnley's about. And we didn't say that last season, did we? I think one of the big things Justin kept saying last season is, I don't get this Burnley team. I can't get on board. But I think, Jadon Anthony's a perfect example of somebody I can definitely get on board with, because of his performances. So, yeah, Anthony for me.
Good shout. Justin.
Yeah, I probably would have gone for Anthony if Greavesy hadn't said that. But I'm gonna not go for the obvious. I'm gonna go for Lucas Perez because, and probably Bashir Humphries as well, because we went through last season without a left back, didn't we? after not signing Ian Matson at the start of last season, it seemed like getting hold of a decent left back was beyond them. But this season they managed to get hold of 2, and it's Lucas Perez's signing. Although I think earlier on in the season we all thought he might be a little bit suspect at the back. Since Humphries has been out, I think he's come to the fore and he's performed really well. So those 2 signings I think have been key. Everybody talks about the 2 centre backs and the goalkeeper, but that whole back line has been fantastic this year, and they've both played a massive part in it. So having a left back and a backup left back has been like a godsend this year, and a massive relief that we have. So much so that we haven't really talked about it, have we? Whereas we were talking about left backs all the time last year.
Yeah, it's true that. Yeah. Chris.
Yeah, again, Anthony's the player that's given me the most pleasure. From almost like a fatherly angle, I've enjoyed watching him develop and seeing this lad who I feel he's got huge potential, and he does frustrate the life out of you on occasions. But on others, you just marvel at his touch again. The touch for the goal against Millwall at the weekend, it just kills the defender, takes him out of the game, and the nice little composed side foot finish that we hope he'd deliver for 99% of his other chances. But to go against the grain now, I'd probably say I'd go with Fleming. That he's had to adapt to pretty unconventional role from his perspective. Everyone signed expecting him to come play off the front, play as a 10. He's had to be our focal point at time from that fabulous display at Leeds. Where he gave a Barnes-esque display. Our away form has been, well, our form full stop's been great, but our away form in particular, more away points than any other club. But he's scored more away goals than anyone else in the Championship. And you think of that zinger at Norwich, a big goal at Sheffield, albeit with a bit of fortune with the deflection. A goal that, again, one of those that will go down the years, as they all do, the winner at Blackburn, the celebration at Blackburn. And he's one of those, we spoke about those leaders and those characters you can hang your hat on. He's one of those to me. Whether he can step up to the Premier League and display his ability. Let's say he's had a fabulous grounding. He come through at Ajax, didn't he? And he done ever so well at Millwall. But I hope he gets a really good shot at it next year. And he does have, he does have ability. But he's said a range of finishes. He can score. Take a death finish. He can score a thunder bastard. He's been terrific for me.
Yeah, I agree. And it was nice to see. I don't know if this is the ultimate modern football's going soft, game's gone moment, but Millwall fans applauding him at the end and singing his chant about how he hates West Ham. And that was nice to see, because just so often players like that just get booed, don't they? Like, for no real reason. Like, and it is quite. If this is the new football, I'm actually quite into that. I think it's actually quite nice. He's been a good player for Millwall. With all due respect to Millwall, and we gave Millwall a lot of respect last week, actually, didn't we? I think when we talked about them. It is a step up for him. He's going to a club that's got a chance of getting into the Premier League. Maybe Millwall will come up and join us next year, but I tend to agree there. Woody, you don't have to go against the grain if you don't want to. If you want to agree with somebody as the last man, we don't have to do, but it's entirely up to you, mate.
That's awfully nice of you. Étranger. No, only joking. I was actually thinking Edwards, because if it wasn't for Edwards, then we wouldn't have seen, I don't think, automatic promotion, and I don't think we'd have seen the best out of, say, Anthony. I think he was that little bit of what was missing for the first 3 quarters of the season, and it was just that final thing that clicked certain things into place. So I'll say him, or Barnes, arguably.
Yeah, some good choices there. Are we going to try and find a consensus candidate to be the official signing of the season? I get the sense, if we're going into conclave moment here, and there's going to be like a sort of cloud coming out of the from the BOLN chimney, that Jadon Anthony might be it.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
With honourable mentions for all the others, of course. Right. Let's move in on then to performance of the year. Single game that sticks in the mind from this. Let's go in reverse order so everyone gets a fair crack. Woody, which one stands out for you from some pretty good ones?
Yeah. Well, it was quite schizophrenic, wasn't it? We had 2 versions of Burnley. We had 0-0 Burnley, super defensive, and then the rapier-like Burnley. And so for performance in terms of putting aside to the sword, I'd say Portsmouth. I've never seen a Burnley side quite so adept when it wanted to turn it on from out of nowhere, finish a side off in less than 15 minutes. But I think from a defensive perspective, I might say Leeds away. I thought that was a very good performance considering where they were at the beginning of the season and what they needed to do. And I think that kind of set the blueprint for the rest of the season.
You mean Plymouth, don't you, Woody?
Do I? I probably do. Yes, I do mean Plymouth. It's all the myths, isn't it? Yeah, 5-0 on Tuesday night.
Plymouth,
Plymouth.
Yeah. That's how well I remembered it. Yeah.
It's all a blur, isn't it?
I know exactly.
Chris Borden.
I say Woody mentioned it there. I think Leeds. I think to be so early in the season, and we're still trying to new manager, new players, etc. And having been just suffered so many almost self-inflicted defeats at times last season. To go into that game against many people's favourites for the title, and obviously ultimately edge the title, but to go and show that the backbone we showed there, the resilience, desire. Trafford came of age as a Burnley player, the claim at the end that capped off a really good performance, strong performance from him. Bashir Humphries playing out of position at right back, and he didn't finish the game, but very good defensive performance. You saw Collier showing his best with the way he took the goal, showing that bit of composure, and Hannibal, rattling the entire home support was a joy to see, and it was just one of those. I say we all expected Burnley to be up and around certainly the top 6, but that was a a display for me that said we know how to win games again after so many defeats in the Premier League, and we know how to grind them out when we're not at our flowing best, shall we say?
Justin?
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. Really, that Leeds game put down a little bit of a marker, didn't it, to say we're up there with the best. And it was a different kind of performance to the ones that we'd seen prior to that. It was a bit of a smash and grab raid. But, I mean, that gets my vote for Hannibal shithousery every day of the week. I love that. I love that. I mean, there were so many games this season that I can't even remember because I'd forgotten all about them about 30 seconds after leaving the ground. But for entertainment value, I think that last game of the season against Millwall was probably our best display of football, the kind of football we all want to see. But you can't look beyond that Leeds game, I don't think, as a setting down the marker and showing them that we can match the best in the league.
Yeah, and be the best in the league. I mean, they didn't beat us. If it had been on head-to-head record, of course, Burnley are champions. As some people in the comments on our YouTube channel may have noticed. Greavesy.
I nod to the Leeds game, but I think I'm going to go for the Millwall game because I actually think Millwall were probably the best side to come to Turf Moor. Not getting all woke for our East End rivals, but I just thought they were. I think their fans were probably the best to come to Turf Moor in terms of the constant noise and that weird white noise that they kept creating. Which, when you were sat there, you were thinking, God, this is really annoying. But yeah, I thought they were the best side. The best performing team we came up against at Turf Moor. And that was just, you kind of thought if there'd have been one more game, we'd have been even better. That felt like the pinnacle of Parker Ball and what he wanted. He made a reference to that on Tuesday, I think, the kind of frustrations of the early season and us not becoming the team he wanted us to become until later. So for me, yeah, that game against a very good Millwall side, and this is just for the Leeds fans in the YouTube comments, Millwall, the best side to come to Turf Moor. Millwall, the best fans. Leeds, the worst performing side, and Leeds, the worst fans. So stick that in your YouTube comments. And you can clip that fucker up as well.
There you go. I think, they've all been mentioned, all the obvious candidates, but I did find that QPR away game, as the asterisk next to it is they were a bit on the beach, weren't they? But the clip of the defenders, 6 of them racing back in a game where you're 3-0 up and you're already...
And you've been on the piss for 3 days before. Right?
You're already promoted. You're 3-0 up away from home and you're defending like your lives depend on it. I thought that just summed it all up, really. And we did play some really good attacking football in that game, but probably not the candidate for performance of the year, really, but worth a mention. Moment of the year. Now, that could be literally anything. It could be Naughty's pop strumpet performing on the turf. It could be anything. It could be anything.
Right.
Let's start off with Chris. Chris.
So off the top of my head, the moment that I most went batshit crazy about was scoring the winner at Ewood Park, strangely enough. I'll never tire of things like that. And especially in the manner it came about. It was a difficult header to take. And and especially, so good a moment for him to give the travelling Vol fans, a magic moment from their former player. Just topped it all off for me. And the celebration with his shirt on the corner flag still it adorns my camera phone to this day. Another in what's going to be 16 years and counting of magic moments against that lot.
Excellent. Justin?
Oh, well, my favorite, the moment that sticks in my memory is not even during a game. I'm walking down towards the turf for the first derby, right? At Turf Moor, walking past the road dash, I get my phone out to check on the team. And I don't know if you remember, but this was the day after the crazy transfer window closed. And I don't think it was quite clear at that point if we knew everything about who had stayed and who had gone. So when I saw Luca Koleosho's name on the team sheet, I can't tell you what a massive relief that was to me at the time. It was just after that chaos of that transfer window, and all those lads, some of whom, had won as promotion out of that division before, some of whom we'd seen develop into a not a half decent side in the Premier League by the time we got to the end of that season. A lot of them had just gone out of the door. And the relief I felt when I saw Koleosho's name, thinking, oh well, at least he's still there. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking at the time, well, maybe it's not going to be as bad as we thought. I know he didn't. He went on maybe not to have the sort of season that we thought he might have, but he certainly made a contribution. We've mentioned his goal at Leeds, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play next year. But that, for me, that was a really significant moment that I thought, and the optimism I felt at that point has proven since to be, well-founded. So that's going to be my moment of the year.
Yeah, I mean, the optimism has just run through your veins all the way through this podcast all year, Justin. I think, it's just been crazy.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I think shirt on, corner flag, reminiscent of Graham Souness in Turkey. There's nothing pisses at home fans off more than if you grab a bit of their furniture and turn it Burnley, or you turn it to your rival team, and it's just, I don't know. It's just, you kind of think to yourself at that point. Again, it's that these players get it, right? I mean, all of the anti-Rovers songs they were joining in with on the balcony and the bus and all of that lot. And, Connor Roberts leading that song in front of the cricket field on the last game of the season. It's all we want is players who buy into the same passion that we have. And it's really difficult to get modern footballers to do that. And it's really difficult to get managers to get players to do that. But I just think it's that kind of, that to me, that flag with the Burnley shirt on, him and Josh Brownell, I think it was, and Josh Brownell, of course, 2 years earlier, had pissed off the Rovers fans with the inflatable trophy. It was just that kind of, this city's ours almost, Mum. I know we're not one big city, but it's that kind of, we own this place. There's nothing you can do about it. This county is ours. There we go. So that for me, just again, it's like goosebumps talking about that, actually. It's just, them little moments that, Chris talked about, images staying in your mind, that, shirt on a flag will stay in my mind for a long time.
Yeah, it's interesting how what things do stick with you, and it's also interesting. You remember last season we were talking about players who become a Claret and players who don't become a Claret, and it feels like this is just as a team has become a team full of Clarets. Really, it really does this year. Woody, moment of the year from your vantage point.
Yes, I'm surprised a few of these haven't got stadium bans so far. Had fans done some of the shit that they've been doing, they want us in the turf again. So fair play to them. I'm going for Trafford's double penalty heroics against Sunderland.
Yeah, good one.
Never will you celebrate a 0-0 quite like that. It was ridiculous, and I've never quite seen anything like it. If anybody can remind me of a similar moment, then I'm all ears. But the shithousing, the endless pissing about with the away fans, with the referee, the ridiculousness of the penalties in the first place, the fact that it was, only ended up 0-0, and how badly Sunderland took it. He had it all. It was fabulous. And that's when he became, I think, a bona fide Claret legend in that particular moment. So, that's it for me.
Perfect. I'll just chuck in Hannibal's walking off at Leeds.
Yeah,
because that was a in your head moment, wasn't it? The chant wasn't born then, but it was like he was, and I think that's when he turned from us all having a little bits of doubts about Hannibal's to him being like a Ashley Barnes Mark II in a lot of ways. He's been fun as this year as Hannibal, hasn't he? Right, now on to the big one. Player of the year. I suspect we'll have some different choices here, but we'll try and find a consensus at the end. But just Whatever you think, Woody, you start us off.
I think for just pure consistency, from a consistency level, I'm going to have to go with Steve. Having played pretty much every minute, hasn't he, of the season, and been that bedrock, and we've all seen that it was extremely easy for him at times, but when he had to put a little bit of a shift in, he was imperious at times. There's very few people at the back that I've seen have as good a season as him, and it's a pretty difficult choice between him and Egan Riley, but definitely Steve, I think.
Fair enough. Hard to argue with, but give us a try, Greavesy.
Yeah, I'm going to go Brownhill, which feels like the redemption arc that nobody ever saw coming. Given my kind of stick I've given him over the last couple of years, but I agree with it. I agree with our friend Steve. Fabulous, but I think Brownhill. I think because of, and you touched on it, Sam, in the last podcast, it's not by accident that he's getting in positions. He's learnt to get into those positions, arriving late, arriving on the box. And I watched the Millwall highlights back, and just where he's there when Barnes is just like basically letting the ball just shatter off his chest, off his balls, off his leg as he's Barnes ain't giving that up as a bad job, and neither's Brownhill. Brownhill's the first to react. Against Sheffield United, I think it's the first goal, isn't it, where, Brownhill reacts quickest to smash home that, it's that kind of, that is something he's had to learn because he's not always got himself in them positions. And Chris said right at the start of the season, or a few games in, when he got a couple of goals, he should be getting 15 goals a season. He's got the ability to get 15 goals a season. So it came, absolutely, Chris was spot on. You want a midfielder to weigh in with goals, especially if we're not scoring elsewhere, which we weren't at that point. So, yeah, proper captain, proper performances this season. Yes, he has disappeared in the odd game where you might say Steve hasn't. But yeah, for me, just and I'm hoping he's listening to this and he's going to stay a little bit longer. But yeah, for me, Brownhill. There you go. The things you never thought you'd ever see.
There you go.
Giving Brownhill Player of the Year.
Justin.
Well, Woody mentioned my Player of the Year. I'm going for Egan Riley just because of the story. I mean, we've got a lad there who, at the start of the season, I don't think any of us thought he would even be at the club this season, and I'm pretty sure he didn't either. He'd been more or less disregarded by the previous regime. He was one of those players who came into the side during that transfer window when we didn't know who was staying and who was going. And I think we were all thinking, well, God, if he's getting in the side, we must be, scraping the bottom of the.
Were we?
Yeah. And then he got a chance, didn't he? Because I think Joe Worrell got injured because he was our first choice centre back partner for Esteve at that point. And then he's never looked back. Not only has he cemented his place in the side and not shifted, he's been part of a record-breaking defensive partnership, which is just extraordinary. I think there's loads of little stories this season about records being broken, and they're all absolutely incredible, taken in isolation. But because there's so many of them coming at us, they seem to be overshadowing each other a little bit. So I think. Just thinking about Egan Riley alone, that is an incredible story. The perseverance, the determination, the resilience that guy's shown to show the class that he's got throughout this season and to form this record-breaking partnership, great partnership with Esteve. I think that's a brilliant story, and I think it says a lot about who he must be as a person. And I'm hoping that Alan Pace is going to get his checkbook out and make sure that he signs a new contract, because I'd love to see those two guys stay together in the Premier League.
It's a bit sliding doors moment, isn't it? Because if the season doesn't go how it goes at the start with the injury to Worrell, he ends up playing League One football, doesn't he? He ends up going to Scotland. He's at Dundee, and his career probably doesn't ever see him getting into the top flight, and doesn't see him getting England under 21 call-ups at this stage, and probably, possibly, hopefully going on to play for the full England side. And that's the thing, isn't it? And I think Justin, absolutely smashed it there with the kind of the story of who he is. this determination. I think his brother's at Spurs, isn't he? His brother, he's got a brother at Spurs who, again, he's down that path that a lot of players go down. Don't get a chance, and it's just, he's taking his chance. And first couple of games, the people sat around me in the North Upper were a bit like, oh, he keeps putting ball into touch, a bit too close to his goal line, etc., etc. But he's grown exponentially throughout the season.
Yeah, and like the amount of players coming through in and out of the door at the start of the season, Parker could have been forgiven for not really knowing much about him or having seen much of him at all. Could have easily decided, right, we're going with Luke McNally at that stage because he was back with us, wasn't he, at that time? But he didn't. He chose Egan Riley, and the rest is history. Chris Bowden, next.
People will scarcely believe this. I'll go with the Golden Gloves winner, James Trafford, who I said again.
Greaves has gone for Josh Brownhill, but Odds has gone for James Trafford. I love this.
I just I criticised. It was more the decision. I didn't understand the decision. Well, you understand the decision to sign him. His potential, but to thrust him in, from going from League One to Premier League, you're up against the champions of Europe at that stage, champions of England, and I just thought it was too much too soon, and it weighed on him, and ultimately he was replaced. And I felt Muric was a better goalkeeper in every aspect of the game. You had the Luton scenario where, I think we all think it was a foul, but I think everyone also looked at Trafford and thought, you need to be a bit stronger there, son, as well. And he didn't look 6'5", as people suggest he is. He looked a boy playing with men. And then you look over the summer and you see his character is obviously there because he's bounced back from that, the resilience. He looks every bit 6'5". He's got that cocksure arrogance, that belief that Cole Palmer suggested he had in that under 21s final against Spain, where he knew he was going to save the penalty, and Trafford knew he was going to save them penalties against Sunderland. And talking about that save at Watford and things like that, the way he's developed as a goalkeeper, coming and claiming stuff. His footwork has been better. It's resembled the footwork we were led to believe he had in the first place, but there's been actually less reliance on him to start absolutely everything from the back this season. He's made better decisions. He's still got a mistake in him, but he's a goalkeeper, and he's remarkably young to be this good at that age. He's like 8 years younger than the average age of a Premier League goalkeeper last year. I just think he's shown, and every credit to him, he's shown the bollocks he's got this season by bouncing back from a season that could have buried him to come out as the best keeper in the Championship with a nice trophy on his mantelpiece. He's part of the England setup, which he's going to be for the next 10 years, probably, if not more. And I'd say all I can do is say, yeah, I got that one badly wrong.
Can't dispute that. No, I think all great choices. I would probably edge towards Josh Brownhill from the point of view that we struggled for goals so much at times this season. That could have really derailed us, really, the fact we weren't scoring goals in the middle of the season. I mean, we were all... How many podcasts did we do where we were saying, we've got to sign a striker in January. We've got to sign a striker in January. And we didn't. And we've scored plenty of goals in the running. And a lot of that has come from Brownhill, who, if we'd have signed a centre-forward in the summer and he'd gone and scored 18, wasn't it, in the end, Brownhill? You'd be more than happy with that return from any striker you signed for 10 million in the summer, wouldn't you? And he's done that for midfield.
Scored more winning goals than anyone else in the Championship, I believe.
Yeah, 8 winning goals, I think it is.
Yeah.
So
the points value of those goals.
Yeah. Scored more goals than we've conceded.
Oh, yeah. But he's not scoring the third in a 3-0 win or, the fourth in a 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
He's scoring pivotal. He's scoring both games against Sheffield, for example. And, big goal again at Watford when we needed it and so on and so forth. And, yeah, he's the leader of the group, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was always good for 5 goals a season. I think he should have got double figures 2 years ago, and he's I see, as Greasy said, he's capable of scoring this amount of goals from midfield.
Is he consensus player of the year or not? I mean, Esteve is a fantastic shout as well, isn't he? Egan Riley too, Trafford. I mean, they're all good. They're all good
let's
shouts.
go for the skipper as a representative
Can't argue
of
with
everybody.
those numbers. The assists as well. You don't argue with them numbers.
Josh Brownhill, the EFL awards let you down, but from the BOLN delivered.
It's the only one that matters, isn't it? It's the only one that matters.
Right, final round, quick fire round to finish us off. We're going into the off season, the close season. Call it what you want. You're allowed one wish. You can deliver an executive order on Alan Pace's desk and mandate a particular thing to happen. What are you going for? I'll start us off with this one, and it is Josh Brownhill, going back to him, signing a new 3-year contract, end of story, no messing about, captain of the club. Josh Brownhill, that's my wish for the close season. Justin.
Keep the squad together. Well, keep the team together. Keep the players that have brought us this far together. Add to it over the summer, and let's see how they can get on in the Premier League. Don't make the same mistake we did last time.
Anything related to perhaps atmosphere at Turf Moor that would be a secondary wish, perhaps?
Just turn the PA system down a little bit.
Sack the announcer. No. Sorry, Dom.
Greavesy.
Don't sell Steve. That's dead simple. Don't sell Steve. I think keep him, and we've got half a chance. You know, you could rattle on about the 2 out of contract lads. That goes without saying. I think you've covered that, and Justin's covered that. But me, don't sell Steve. Got to keep Esteve, and I think he'd stay. You know, he loves the club, loves being here. Give him a chance. He can go in January if we're safe with our wishes. But I think he's the kind of person who, we definitely need.
It's a good season in Premier League if we're safe by January.
Yeah, I was thinking, as soon as I uttered that, I'm thinking, shit, I said this kind of rubbish on TNT Sport just, 2 years ago. But
Chris, what's yours?
I want David Blaine to find Mike Trezor. No, joking aside, I'd want to see sort of our efforts. They must be hunting high and low for a bagsman, a number 9, a centre forward. We need to be up in the ante in that area over the summer, and similar to what Ipswich. I mean, obviously Ipswich have got relegated, but going out and signing Delap, who I think many have doubts of at that level, but bringing in a forward of that sort of calibre and impact who can get double figures in the Premier League.
Yeah. Woody finishes off for the 2024-2025 season on From the BOLN with your wish for the off-season.
I'd like us to find some money down the back of a sofa. So pretty much agreeing with everybody else, really, so that we can afford to keep this side together, because it's going to be an expensive ask to keep the likes of Esteve and even Egan Riley, and because you would like to see for once a side that's got promoted try and compete with the side that has got promoted, rather than blowing everything up, and that's going to take some spending money. And so I'd like us to have, won a lottery ticket, found a sugar daddy, rattled his pockets, whatever we need to do, have a kitty, whatever. Let's see what we've got and try and keep what we've got and see what we can do with it.
I think we'd all agree with that. Looking forward to it. We will be back throughout the summer sporadically. We don't know exactly how it's all going to work. So the best thing to do is to follow us on social media at BHole Podcast, or where you listen to your podcasts or watch us on YouTube. Make sure to click those subscribe and follow buttons. Justin.
Yeah, I just want to have a quick word about T-shirts. T-shirts? The shop is still open, and we've got a few extra designs on offer based on 1 or 2 things that have happened over this season. And unfortunately, producing this podcast isn't free. So we would like it if if you feel you get some value out of it, that you give us a little bit of support on that. So I'd check out the shop, see if anything takes your fancy, and hopefully we'll be able to keep the lights on.
Get a Fleming flag T-shirt. That's what we want.
Yeah, have a look in the shop. There's some new ones in there, some crackers that Justin's produced. So, all the best then. And, yeah, up the Clarets.
How many times do I have to tell you? Stop moaning!